The Center for Audit Quality presents Profession in Focus.
Hello, and welcome to this edition of Profession in Focus. I'm Cindy Fernelli, the Executive Director of the Center for Audit Quality, and I'm very pleased to have with me today as our guest Jeanette Franzel, who is a board member at the PCAOB, as well as one of the two sitting CPAs on the PCAOB. So it's great to have you here, and I know that the views that you share with us today are your views and not necessarily those of the board or the staff at the PCAOB.
That's correct, but I do like to remind people that I am 1/5 of the board.
I wanted to ask you to get your crystal ball out and tell us what you see are going to be the big auditing issues for 2016.
Well, I can talk about the big PCAOB issues, which might be translated into auditing issues. But first and foremost is our core mission, that our mandate, our legislative mandate to help ensure high quality auditing so that the markets have high quality financial reporting and confidence. And that's just a huge part of our mission with our statutory responsibilities in inspections, of course, and standards and enforcement and registration. So that takes a tremendous amount of our resources. We do have some discrete projects next year, and that'll be putting out a proposal for a permanent program for inspection of brokers and dealers. So you can expect that next year. That's a very big issue. We're continuing to make improvements in our standard setting process, everything from risk monitoring all the way to issuing a proposal. And so I'm also hoping that that process will help us communicate on a more timely basis with the market in terms of what we're seeing in terms of risks. We're also working on building economic analysis into our programs. And we're working on just improving our own internal operations so that we can do more communications on a timely basis to the market. So stay tuned. We've got a lot of good things happening at the PCAOB, which should positively impact audit quality.
There you go. Very good. Now, I know last year it was part of the PCAOB strategic plan to have more engagement with audit committees, and that's an area that you've been very actively engaged with, talking to audit committees, getting their points of view. So tell us, how is that going? Can we expect maybe another dialogue, another publication coming out? And just give us some flavor of what you think 2016 will bring in your audit committee outreach.
Sure. We started this effort at the end of 2012. We identified the need to outreach with audit committees because of the shared goal of high audit quality. And I think what we learned was we probably should have done that earlier. So we were initially dealing with some pent-up frustration maybe from audit committees because we hadn't communicated with them, and we've been rolling out different forms of communication. We've done a lot of individual outreach, and we have this audit committee dialogue that we put out this year. And we've gotten a lot of positive reactions, and we also heard reactions from some audit committees saying, we already do this, why are you telling us this, the PCAOB? So I think it kind of depends on where audit committees are in their process, but there's certainly been benefit to doing that. And this is just going to become a regular part of our operations because it is so important to have that communication across the system because we are all working toward the same goal. So look for more communications out of the PCAOB directed toward audit committees, and we'll continue doing our outreach with the audit committee community.
Excellent. So I'm going to switch gears a bit on you, although we've talked a little bit about 2016, so that's a future focus. But something that we at the CAQ have been very focused on, and I think the PCAOB as well, and that's the auditor of the future. So how do we ensure, as across the spectrum, you mentioned that we all want the same things, right? We're all interested in improving audit quality. How do we make sure that we're getting the best and the brightest into the profession?
Well, that's a great question, and it's something the profession has wrestled with in the past, but I think we're at a very critical point right now with that. And so I'll talk a little bit about what PCAOB is doing. We really don't have any mandate or jurisdiction over this issue except for in one case, and that is that the Sarbanes-Oxley Act tells us that we should use the fines and penalties paid to PCAOB by firms as a result of our enforcement proceedings, and we should use that to establish a scholarship program for accounting students, which we've done. So we've done this the program's been in effect for 5 years now, And this past year, we awarded 84 scholarships of $10,000 each to accounting
that's
students.
pretty incredible.
So yeah, it's a nice program, and we're helping students, and it's a merit-based program. So we select the universities, and then the universities select the students because they know their students, and there's some merit-based criteria there. So that's our only mandate in this area, but we do an awful lot to try to give feedback to the academic community and to students about what types of skills are needed. And we've had a tremendous impact, I believe, on both accounting education and research in the areas of professional skepticism. There's a big focus on professional skepticism and critical thinking skills in the classroom. Accounting research has also evolved based on some of what we find in our oversight. And so we do that through outreach to the professors. We host an annual conference at the PCAOB. This past year we had about 100 professors attend. It's a day-and-a-half conference, and we drill down into current issues, and we talk to them about what they need to be focusing on in the classroom. And we have student groups come through the PCAOB. This past year we had over 400 students come through the PCAOB, and they get to talk to our staff and usually a board member to get the perspective of what we're seeing, what types of skills they need. And we also, board members actually go out to universities and talk to faculty, PhD students, and then usually large groups of students. And so we have a lot of outreach back and forth, really discussing what we found, what types of skills need to be emphasized, and really just talking up the great things about the profession.
So, and you also have a relatively new academic fellow program as well, do you not?
Yes, so we've just recently started this, and it's really neat because we're giving access to academics, access to our data for research. And so right now it's on a fairly limited scale because we've had to clean up our data and organize our data, and I'm hoping that in the future we can make our data much more accessible to academic researchers to really help further many of these issues that we're all worried about.
Well, that's great. So more to come. Maybe we'll have you on a future Profession in Focus.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you so much. And thanks to all of you for watching this edition of Profession in Focus.